Harm OCD feels incredibly real, and there's a reason for that. It's not because the thoughts are true, it's because OCD hijacks what is most important to you, your values, your emotions, and your deep sense of responsibility. It doesn't just send you intrusive thoughts, it weaponizes your empathy, and that's what makes it so convincing. People with OCD are actually some of the kindest, most thoughtful people around. And ironically, that's exactly why these thoughts cause so much pain. If you weren't actually a good person, the thoughts wouldn't upset you. But because you care, OCD uses that care against you. Many people say to me, I know it's OCD, but this one feels different, or it just feels more real this time. And I've been there myself too. That sense of urgency, the kind of guilt, the fear. It's not just the thought that you're battling. It's an emotional storm that convinces you that something must be seriously wrong. But here's what I've learned over the years. The emotions are not proof. They're not evidence that you've done something wrong or that you're dangerous in some way. They're actually false alarms triggered by a brain that's learned to kind of overprotect you. And the more that we try to figure that out, the more that we try to understand where the thoughts might be coming from, whether they mean something about us, if actually secretly we're a bad person or something, well, the more that we get caught up in that OCD cycle, and it's a trap. We go round in circles. We're looking for certainty that we're kind of not a bad person. And again, the OCD is using our morals against us here. We're telling ourselves, but I just need to know for sure, because obviously it would be really bad if I really were to do something terrible. I can't accept that. I can't allow that thought to be there. And of course, this means that we stay stuck in that trap. And, unless we learn how to kind of deal with this, we can really feel stuck in that trap almost indefinitely. And if you're finding this helpful, I do offer a free discovery call. To get that, you can head over to my website, robertjamescoaching.com. For me personally, one of the most difficult things about this is that I would spend hours ruminating about it. Of course, I would really dislike intrusive thoughts of this nature. And so I wouldn't allow them to just be. I wouldn't refocus my attention back onto the present. When I first started to experience harm-based thoughts, I would pay them far too much attention. I would try to figure them out, and I would try to get to the bottom of them. And in the process, I would ruminate. I would go around in circles in my thoughts, trying to prove to myself that I wasn't bad or I wasn't dangerous, or, that I could rely on myself. But again, the more that you do that, the more that you get stuck. So instead of trying to think your way out of it, you have to take a different approach. And this is where acceptance comes in. It's so important to state here that when we talk about acceptance, we're not talking about accepting the content of the thoughts. Obviously, for anybody with OCD, that's a really horrible idea. And so I think with Harm OCD, sometimes that word acceptance can be a bit off-putting. What we're talking about is bringing acceptance and compassion to the difficult emotions that are underlying, this particular theme. There's obviously often a lot of anxiety, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. And when we can practice bringing compassion and acceptance to those things, I think it begins to help us to see that the thoughts are not really anything. They're passing mental phenomena. They don't actually mean anything. It's just because we're fighting with them so much, we're resisting them so much that, they kind of keep coming back up again, and they tend to kind of stick around. It relates to that kind of classic saying from Carl Jung of what we resist persists. When we practice bringing acceptance to these thoughts, when we acknowledge that they're there, but we try to allow them by allowing that discomfort to be there, we start to see that actually these thoughts, although they are obviously horrible and obnoxious, they don't really mean anything about us. And we begin to be able to kind of start this process of putting them down, of not taking them so seriously. And the more that you practice this over time, bringing acceptance to the difficult emotions, acknowledging that the thoughts are just thoughts, that you didn't want them, and actually you can allow them to be there in the background, and instead you practice this ability that you have to kind of refocus your attention. I think a huge part of OCD is actually about attention. Where are we allowing our attention to go? Are we keeping it on the things that are important, our values and our goals? Or are we allowing our fear to kind of dictate where our attention goes? And if it's the latter, obviously that tends to lead to kind of big problems for us. So, this is a really important part of the process, recognizing OCD wants to steal your attention. And a huge part of the job for us in managing OCD is really realizing that we do have more control over that attention than perhaps we've been giving ourselves credit for. So if you're in the middle of this right now, please know that you're not broken. You're not dangerous. You're a person with a big heart dealing with a very difficult disorder. And you don't have to wait until you feel okay to kind of move forward with your life. Real progress isn't about eliminating the thoughts. It's about changing your relationship with them and becoming more accepting. And you can start doing that right now by choosing to act on what matters, not what actually scares you. Remember, I do offer a free discovery call. To get that, you can head over to my website, robertjamescoaching.com. There's a link in the show notes. This video is for education only. It's not therapy or medical advice. If you're struggling, please speak with a licensed mental health professional.